I wish I had metal claws. We get so much pussy. Welcome to Movies with James. Today we're talking about Logan, the final installment in the Wolverine franchise. If you're not familiar with the Wolverine franchise, it follows the story of a 200-year-old man who has claws and is bulletproof. Yes, I understand this sounds retarded, but I actually like X-Men movies. I think they're kind of fun. And this is coming from a guy who hates superhero movies because they're dumb. Particularly the Avengers crap, they took it too far. Sure, go ahead, make one Iron Man movie, then fuck off. No one wants to watch a movie about Shield Man and his sidekicks, Spandex Woman, and Black Pirate. But I always thought X-Men was a little less retarded because it wasn't about, you know, gods and rich people, it was about mutants. Plus, Wolverine's just kind of cool. But as far as Logan goes, I was very excited because it's rated R. Finally, first Deadpool, now Logan. We're getting some realistic movies now. Well, realistic in the way that a man with claws can be realistic. All superhero movies kind of rely on the concept of either the world ending or all your friends dying. And what's the only response to that situation? Fuck! Now they can finally say it. So Logan got a 92% on Rotten Tomato. That's impressive. So the movie takes place in 2029, a few years after the end of Days of Futures Past. It follows Logan and Charles Xavier, who, yes, I know what you're thinking, didn't he explode in X-Men 3: The Last Stand? So I watched a video about the timeline of X-Men, I'll link it below, but apparently in Days of Futures Past, when they go back in time, it restarts time into a separate time continuum, and the first 3 movies didn't exist, but some of it exists. But anyways, Charles is alive. The whole X-Men timeline is more fucked up than Bruce Jenner's ballsack. The point is, Charles Xavier is alive, so just deal with it. But as to be expected with R rating, it's very dark and gritty. The mutants are pretty much extinct. Logan is not doing too good. He looks like shit, like gray hair, alcoholic. This man looks like he's smoked every cigarette. But anyways, Logan and Charles come across this young mutant girl and they try to help her escape this battalion of military assholes trying to capture her. It's a lot more humanized and realistic than most X-Men movies. Well, realistic in the sense that it's about an invincible claw man. But I really enjoyed the fact that it wasn't a typical mystical superheroes floating around movie. It was dark, gritty, blood flying everywhere, fights. It was just what you wanted. But it's almost like an anti-superhero movie because there's no love interest, no powerful evil villain trying to destroy the world, no happy-go-lucky moments, no redemption, no real high points. It's almost just like the ballad of a man with claws. So the goods of the movie. As I said, I love the lack of X-Men-ness in the movie. It's almost like a standalone movie. It has this realism about it, almost like Dark Knight, where although it's a fantasy movie, it has just hints of realism and not just bullshit fantasy. The movie was in no way about the X-Men. It was specifically the Logan movie. It was about the story of a man who's broken and just weak, but also like the most powerful man you'll ever know. It was a great setup and character development going on. It's almost like the Leaving Las Vegas of superhero movies. It's just kind of downhill and sad and just a broken man. But it's also a superhero movie, but it's more than that. It's actually a story going on. But of course the best part of the movie that we're all waiting for is the blood. Oh god, the blood. They finally realized that it's kind of difficult to make a movie about a man who stabs people with like 10-inch claws, not R. This is what's been missing from X-Men the whole time. Finally, we can see Wolverine stab people as brutally as he wishes with no censoring. The fight scenes sound like someone's just squishing a watermelon into a microphone because it's just constant slashing and just gore, which is exactly what we wanted in this movie. We wanted to see Wolverine be fucking Wolverine. It's very graphic. It's kind of like Saw, but with like half the cast being children. Overall, it's just what we wanted. We wanted a Wolverine movie that didn't involve people changing the weather, gay costumes, or blue people that can teleport. We wanted a man stabbing people violently and talking about his emotions. That's what we got. So the bads of the movie. Number 1, it is literally the exact same plot as Mad Max Fury Road. A pissed off dude is helping a girl escape a heavily armed convoy of psychopaths who are chasing them through the desert on their way to a place called Eden. That is literally the exact same story as Mad Max. Not to mention it is extremely violent and includes a pale bald man. Am I the only one noticing this? It's like the same plot. They could have just called this movie Mad Logan Fury Claws. Another bad thing about the movie is that they really didn't utilize the R rating to its full potential. Yes, they upped the violence, but I don't really understand how that works. How come like in a PG-13 movie you can show someone stab someone with claws, but it has to be tasteful or something? It's a very weird rule on the violence in PG-13 movies, but they upped it I guess a little bit. They also showed some tits just because they could and said fuck like 4 times in conversation, but they should have said fuck when it was proper use to say fuck. Like when you get stabbed in the stomach with claws. Ow, fuck, I was just stabbed in the stomach with claws. Lastly, I'm probably gonna get a lot of heat for this, but I thought the story was kind of stale. I mean, it's pretty much boring besides all the violence. It's just talking and unimportant information. Like, it's pretty much just 2 hours of violent stab wounds. Oh, and one more thing, Logan doesn't smoke one cigar in the whole movie. Alright, time to rate this movie. I do it in 5 categories: story, acting, production, creativity, and watchability. Out of 5 points each, then we multiply by 4 to get a score of 100. Here we go. So the story. Besides it being a direct copy of Mad Max, it's not that interesting. The violence is great, I love the action, I love the setup, I love the grittiness, the R-rated parts of it, but the actual things going on are not that interesting. I'm gonna have to give the story a 2 out of 5. Acting. So I really enjoyed the acting in this movie. They got rid of a lot of useless actors from the original X-Men and they focused on the classics, Patrick Stewart and Jack Hugeman. Both of them were killer in this movie because he actually had to focus on the characters, not just like 90 different X-Men. Acting was perfect, very emotional, well done, 5 out of 5. Production. Production was just what you wanted. Constant violence, stabbing, blood, it was gushing at all times. Exactly what you wanted. It was well put together, not a lot of dumb explosions, no dumb floating people. It was perfectly made for a gritty, R-rated superhero movie. 5 out of 5. Creativity. It's from a comic book and they copied Mad Max. And besides that, nothing new really. Great action scenes, but nothing creative about it. 1 out of 5. Watchability. It's a great action movie, but it's also a very depressing, just somber drag through the mud. Like, there's no happiness in this movie. It's very just constantly depressed and sad and just gritty. There's no real happiness or enjoyment coming from it, which I like it. It was a very honest movie, a great finale, but it's just, it's like surgery. Like, I could look at it, it's very bloody and interesting, but I have no problem walking away from it. 3 out of 5. 2 plus 5 plus 5 plus 1 plus 3.
The answer is 16.
16 times 4.
It's 64.
64. Official score of Logan is a 64. A 64. Perfect score for this movie. It's not an amazing movie. It's a great action flick about a man with claws killing people violently. It's depressing, it's sad, it's kind of dull and boring at parts, but it makes up for it with its constant violence. It's a great finale for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I'm sure he's tired of having to work out every single day of his life since 1999. Besides the violence and grittiness, you know, it's a good message. Even heroes with self-regenerating properties and adamantium bones have problems too. So some final thoughts on this movie. It's definitely a fan movie. People that are familiar with X-Men series, who like Wolverine, who know what's going on. Like for example, when I went to go see this movie, I asked a friend to go see it with me and they're like, who the fuck's Logan? Logan, what's Logan about? I don't know Logan. It's the Wolverine movie. Oh, Wolverine? Sure, I'll see Wolverine. I don't know who the fuck Logan is though. People don't really get the movie if they don't understand X-Men. It's kind of a gotta know what you're doing, but it's still a fun movie to see. It's definitely not a superhero movie though. It's definitely more of a character-based movie and a finale for Hugh Jackman in the series. Well, thank you for joining me in this episode of Movies with James. It has been a good time, a good day. I hope you have a good day. Well, better than Logan's day. His day was shit. His whole life was pretty much a fucking nightmare, let's be honest. Join me next time. Bye.